Hey everybody, this is the Success Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Johnson. Thank you so much for checking out episode 5. Today I think we're going to have a great show for you. As a matter of fact, I think this is going to be very beneficial for anybody that is thinking about buying or selling a house, or if you're actively doing that right now, this could be a great opportunity for you to really think about some things and figure out what's going to be the best strategy for you to be successful. As all of you know, if you've watched any of my shows before, information, I believe, gives confidence, and confidence helps you to succeed in whatever goals that it is that you're setting as far as buying, selling, investing, and especially even owning. Don't want to leave that part out. As a matter of fact, today's show will probably touch on some of the ownership part, but primarily this will be a show for people that are either buying or selling. So, with that being said, if you've been up under a rock or something, you probably hadn't heard. But if you've been out in the world, you probably know that the crazy thing about the market right now, for one, is that people are working from home. So there's an opportunity a possibility, let me say, that you'll hear a couple of children running around here. But hey, that's just part of the game. I work from home. My children are at home. Got some young children. Blessed to have them. Blessed to be in my own home, to be able to have them here with me. But like I said, if you've been under a rock or something, you probably haven't heard. But if you've been out and about in the world with us as much as possible during this pandemic, you've probably been hearing that house sales are ridiculously high right now. Some areas even more so than others, especially areas like Dallas. I'm just hearing reports. Now, I don't know this information firsthand, but I'm hearing reports from other people of houses selling $40,000 or $50,000 over the asking price. Right now, that's just whoa. I don't know that we'll ever see. I tell everybody, I think this is a perfect storm. We'll probably never see these sales and interest rates as low as they are, and as sales as high as they've been. With that being said, I took the last 3 weeks to touch on the last 2 weeks. I'm sorry, to touch on a couple of the loans that are out there and available for buyers. And then also to the episodes, the 2 episodes before that, are just kind of my personal experience that I think would be helpful for buyers as well, owners as well. So please go check those episodes out, especially last episode with Roberto Monsivais. My brother really gave a ton of great information on conventional loans and why they're so important in this market. I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit, very briefly. But today, wanted to give a lot of information kind of on the market, right? And I think some of this stuff is just astounding for me personally, having this now being my 4th year. I'm coming up on my 4th year as a real estate agent here at the end of May, and my mind is kind of blown. I went full time in 2019. At the end of 2019, so I had about 4 normal months before we walked into the pandemic. Everything shut down, and everything that I knew about real estate kind of changed, right? Everything didn't change, but many of the approaches that I took with buyers and sellers, all of that changed. So with that being said, we're just looking at Q1 market statistics in the Longview area. Now, this is not just specifically Longview, but the numbers stay pretty close either way. The median price in Longview right now is $190,000. Right, that's the average. That's up 17% year over year. So last year in 2020, it was down. It was about 17% less. Which is still pretty high. We're looking at closed sales up 500 to 506 over the quarter, and that's up 18% year over year, 18.8% year over year. That's crazy. In the winter months and the months leading up to spring, you expect it to be a little bit slower, but it hadn't slowed down a bit. And then the active listings that we have. Now, here's where the kicker is. The active listings here are at 459 is what they've listed here, and it's down about 41% year over year. That's a huge drop. right? We're getting close to half of what we would normally have. It's down so much. And then the inventory. So our month's inventory, we're at 2.3 months of inventory, and that's down 2.1% year over year. Those things are creating, in my mind, a kind of perfect storm that we're seeing. A couple other things, the days on market, the houses that are, now these are, let me say also these are single family homes. This is not including townhouses, land, all those things. This is just single family homes, which are primarily ourselves here in East Texas. 11 days less than 2020 in quarter one. These houses are just literally flying. It seems like they're flying off the market. I don't know if there's a literal way for them to fly off the market, but and then also too the days to close. The days to close have gone up a little bit, but the total days from closing, the days on market is about 9 days less than 2020, right? So the competition has spiked for these houses that are hitting the market, and when they go quickly. Last thing that I'll give is the median price per square foot. A lot of people talk about the square footage price. I think it's kind of hard to use that as a standard on unless you're just talking about a house that is pretty common in the area. 101.65 dollars per square foot. That's up 17% over last year. And last year, we're coming out of the first quarter was kind of the end of our normality, right? The norm that we had was up until about March, and then I think it was March the 10th or something like that, where everything shut down, and then all of a sudden rates started dropping and things like that. So you kind of look at how did we get to this place where the median price is so high? It's making harder for affordable housing to be purchased, where it's making it harder for people on the lower scale of the price range to get in to buy a house. You're looking at several different factors. So of course, when the pandemic shut down, and I kind of talk about this with a lot of people because it's important to see why this is a seller's market. So basically, all that information that we saw is basically showing that it's a seller's market. Sellers can put their house on the market. Most sellers can put their house on the market, and there's maybe four buyers to every house, so that you're shuffling through offers and you're picking the highest one. So every time they're picking the highest one, it's just driving the price up more and more and more. So with that, it's kind of how do we get here? Well, if you take a look at what happened last year when everything shut down, not only did we stop moving, but people stopped getting job opportunities, promotions. People stopped making travel arrangements or relocation arrangements to go and to live elsewhere, do other things, to maybe get a larger house and things like that. All these things started happening, and then people were losing jobs, so they couldn't maybe sell theirs and go buy another. It's just a lot of different things that caused the inventory to drop. So we had less houses because people just couldn't move. We couldn't go anywhere. And, with the whole country just about shut down and locked down, people just couldn't go anywhere. There's no reason to sell. It actually became a little probably scary to sell a house at that time because where were you going to go? Now, on the flip side of it, on the buyer side of it, now we've got the interest rate. The Fed did what I think was a great idea was to drop the rate. Now interest rates fell to historic lows. They fell, and then it incentivized buyers to keep coming to the market to try to buy a house. If you had a job still and you were able to secure your income, it seemed like a fabulous time to get on the market because when you would normally pay for like at $150,000, you could probably get up to 160, 165, and pay the same thing monthly. Right, because those interest rates. Now, I did shoot a video. If you're wondering how that happens, I did shoot a video on my Facebook page You should go check it out to explain why interest rates, why lower interest rates allows you to buy more house. It's very important for you to understand, especially in this market. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But so I wanted to give a few not just tips, but more so some outlook on our market and kind of what I'm seeing these days and some things that I hope will be helpful for you. First, we'll start with the sellers. Just because it's a seller's market, I want to say, does not mean that you can do whatever you want in the market, right? So that doesn't mean that you can put the house on the market for an outlandish number and be able to secure that purchase or from the buyer. Our area is a little bit different from areas like Dallas or the larger areas in Texas, Dallas, Houston, things like that. We still have some semblance of normalcy. Now, the great thing is for you as for you as a seller, is that you'll have, like I said, possibly for the good ones, for the good houses. Now, these are these are basic updated houses. They doesn't even have to be. We're not even talking about like granite countertops all the time. Sometimes it's a nice clean Formica countertop with some flooring, some tile flooring. Everything is clean. Everything is maintained. You can tell it's maintained. People are coming in to snatch those houses up. Now, what does that mean for you? That means that you can, as long as you have, especially if you've taken care of your home well. This is where the ownership part comes in. If you're taking care of your home well, then you have a great opportunity to come in and get a lot of value on your house. We saw the numbers. The median price is up 17%. What you have probably seen for a value in your house a while ago, it's possible that you could see a 17% growth in the value on your home. For I know lots of people that are trying their best to take advantage of the opportunity, and I suggest that. If my family was in a little bit different position, I probably would say, hey, y'all, let's figure out what we're going to do, but let's pack up, sell this house, because it's probably not going to be money that we're going to be able to make down the line. Like I said, I believe personally, I don't know the future, but I believe personally that the scenario, it created kind of a perfect storm that we won't be able to recreate. So I know realtors even. I've heard their stories. I've heard the stories of realtors that say, "Hey, they tell their family, look, we're moving. We'll find somewhere else to live. We're just gonna sell this house and get all the money that we can out of it and put it towards the next house." That actually makes some sense to me. If you have a place to go and you're not gonna be putting anybody out and you're not going to be stressing your family out, I definitely would go and sell the house right now. Like I said, it's because it'd be too hard to make this significant of an increase in value on your home later on down the line. But my warning to you is, here's the saying that I've been using recently: take advantage of the opportunity on the market, but don't try to take advantage of the market. Right, because I've seen several people now make this mistake where they're taking their house and they're not really paying attention to what's going on around them. They just know there's a higher price. They take a stab at one of the highest prices that they can. They don't do any updating to their house. They don't even clean their house, and then they put it on the market and expect somebody to bring them an offer. And I have a serious problem with that. Even with the agents that are just like, yeah, put it on the market at a phenomenally high price and see what happens. Well, you can still, like, people are wanting to buy a house, but they're not idiots either. Yes, it's a lot of competition for the same houses, but not for all houses. Like I said earlier, the good ones go quickly. The good ones go quickly. Not even the great ones, the good ones go quickly. But I've seen people that do no cleaning, no prep work for their property, put it on the market and ask for even more than what's going on, sometimes $15,000 more than what's normal in the area, in order to try to take advantage of the market. That's taking advantage of what you see going on and trying to catch somebody slipping. That's just not going to happen. And people still want to feel relatively good about the dollars that they're spending. And at the end of the day, what they live in, they want to be able to function in without and even if they are paying a higher than normal amount, their monthly is probably staying the same. So they still want to get that, they still want to have that good home feeling when they walk in. If you don't do any prep work or anything, you just throw your house on the market just to see what'll happen. For one, here's the worst case scenario for you. You put it on the market, you haven't done any prep work, you ask a really high amount for it, and people walk in and they see the pictures first and they walk in giving the house a shot, and then when they get in there, they realize that that something's not right here. The house isn't taken care of, but you want a lot of money for it. People are, like I said, people are not idiots. They're not dumb. So they come in and then they don't want anything to do with the house. Well, in this market, if your house doesn't sell in 5 days, people are at what used to be 30 days. We used to say, hey, you want to sell it in the first 30 days, because that makes, that gives credibility to your house. But if it extended past 30 days, people start to question. Well, now it's like really like 2 or 3 days. If it goes past 2 or 3 days, if it hits 5 days, if it goes beyond that, people are looking like, what's wrong with the house? And whether anybody says anything or not, the longer your house sits on the market, it's starting to say something to buyers. Buyers come in with the questions, then they don't want to pay the dollars. Buyers, myself included, are willing to spend when we feel confident about the product that we're receiving. And in this case, your house is that product. So if I walk in the house and I see everything is in disarray, it doesn't smell good in the house, the lawn hasn't been cut or anything outside of you want me to pay top dollar, I'm going to walk away. Well, once people start seeing other people walk away, they're going to say, well, why would I come in and pay this money? So now all of a sudden, where you have a high opportunity to get a lot of value out of the house, it starts to come down more and more and more. And then the questions start to raise about the house, and people start wanting more from you out of the house as well. That's one thing that you may not be thinking about. So if you maintain the house really well, and there's a lot of competition for it, somebody gets in and they're able to get a contract on the house, the likelihood that they're going to be asking for fix this, do this, do this, do this, comes down, because they can't take that risk of you saying no, and then all of a sudden, the contract breaks up. It's too hard to. It's not too hard, but it's taking a much longer time to find a house because our inventory is so low. 40% less houses than we saw in 2020. That just makes it harder to find a house. So for a seller, it's just best if you prepare ahead of time, do the right thing. Don't try to take advantage of the market, but just take advantage of the opportunity. Now, on the flip side, for anybody that is buying at this time, right? What does a seller's market mean for you? It means that you're at a little bit of a disadvantage, right? You don't have the upper hand in negotiation. Somebody asked me about negotiation the other day, and I was like, I don't even know what that is anymore. Like, I don't really get a chance to negotiate very much unless I'm just offering more. Like, hey, if we offer you this, will that be able to, put us in a prime position to receive this contract? To get a contract on this house. I've seen, for most people, it's probably taking about 3 months to get into a house, right? Maybe even into a contract. I try to tell everybody, I've always said 3 months in advance was really good, mainly because it allows you to get everything prepared, and then you start looking, get your feet wet. Well, right now, we're pretty much having to toss you right into the water, right? You're going to have to learn to swim out there in the middle of the deep, right? Because right now, you just don't have a lot of time. What I don't like doing, I've never liked pressuring anybody into buying a house. So I've kind of had to walk the line of being able to tell people, hey, look, yes, I want you to make a sound decision. I want you to feel confident in your decision. We got to do the prep work ahead of time so that when you do walk into that space, you can say, okay, yes, I feel good. What do I mean prep work? Now we talk about offers and what you're going to expect, and especially in the first 7 days of contract. What's making a strong offer? What's what's an offer that isn't receiving many contracts these days? What's not receiving the nods these days? We kind of talk about those things ahead of time, so that way when you see the house that you love, you get a chance to jump in the mix and present a strong offer. That's the prep work that we're having to do ahead of time. We're basically having to go through scenarios, different things ahead of time, so that when you see the opportunity, as we used to hear in sports, you can be quick, but not necessarily in a hurry. What that means is that I don't want people to rush around. Oh, I gotta buy a house. I gotta do this. Just take this one. Give me this. Give me that. I don't want you to do that, right? I want you to be confident. When you see the opportunity that is best for you, I want you to capitalize on it and move with a quickness, right? That's control, right? That's what that is. That's control. Right now, I always tell people, hey, you're gonna have to aim high. The good ones, especially. Listen, if you are in that $100,000 to $150,000 range right now, I'm preaching to you patience. You're gonna have to be patient. You need to give that 3 months, more like 4, maybe 5 months, because we just don't have a lot that is hitting the market in that amount right now, especially in Longview. You'll see some in the Henderson area. I've seen some really good ones in the Henderson, Kilgore, Marshall area. I've seen some really good ones. Hallsville, Gilmer, Longview. I have not seen many that I would say, hey, this is what somebody would be looking for. Even White Oak, Gladewater, I haven't seen very many. Gladewater, I've seen a sprinkle here and there as well. But primarily between that $150,000 mark, be patient. Start super early, right? And if you don't know where you would stand as far as pre-approval amount, go put an application in now. A pre-approval does not mean that, let me say, applying for a house does not mean that you're buying a house. It means that you're getting the information to determine whether you can or can't, right? And you can continue to build the plan after you find that out. Also, too, for buyers, I'd say aim high again. I'm going back to that point. Aim high, mainly because right now, if you go to your lender and say, hey, what's the difference between $5,000 and $10,000? Let's say I'm approved for $175. I see a house at $150. And I give them $160. What's the difference between the monthly payment at $150 and $160,000? And I think you'll be astonished by the amount that is. But you have to also, it's not such a small, it's a small number. I've seen somewhere like $6, a difference per month that you're paying. And it's almost like, whoa, why is that? And you got to think about it. That's $10,000 stretched out over 30 years. That's a long time to be able to make up that $10,000. So a lot of times, for the really good houses, we're having to say, hey, shoot $10,000 above the asking price, right? When there's a lot of competition, I would say if you have that space in your monthly and your pre-approval budget, then shoot for it. If you find a house that you feel you're gonna love to call home, shoot for it. You walk in and it feels like home, shoot for it. Aim for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars or something like that. So be confident. Go ahead and talk to your lender about those differences. Kind of get some estimates on what that would look like. That way you'll know. That way you'll feel more confident. You'll have that information. You'll feel more confident. You'll feel prepared. Also, too, you got to start talking to your agent ahead of time. When are my windows of showing, right? So one of the big things right now, if you don't move quickly to get on the schedule to show, you have a great possibility of missing out on the house, period, right? So how do we handle that? For myself, with buyers that I get a chance to work with, I ask, hey, what's your schedule normally like? Right? Are you free at a certain amount of time or whatever time? When I see a house that hits the market, I'm just going to go ahead and request, hey, can I see it at this time? And then I'll hit you and say, hey, can you make it over here at this time? If you can't, that's okay. I can cancel the appointment. Somebody else will jump in the line for us. But if you can, we want to already have that spot reserved. That way you get an opportunity to get in, take a look at it. Hopefully you can be one of the first contenders with an offer. Every once in a while, you'll see a seller say, "Hey, because I don't want to do all this showings and I got to leave my house for 2 or 3 days, just take the first good offer that we receive." Some people just don't want to deal with that. So try to get your offer in as quickly as possible. Try to be the first one in the door to see the house. All those things you're looking to do in order to create an advantage for you and possibly reach your goal in getting a contract on the house. A lot of things we can't ask for right now. Closing costs are really hard to come by. Um, some things I think you should lay down, which is like surveys. Pay for a survey, $500. Pay that closing. Pay for a survey. Closing date you want to do as quickly as possible. Contingency offers, I don't know a better way to say it than it's just going to be really hard for you right now, right? I've got some people relocating. It's going to be really hard. We have to get really creative on ways to have a contingency offer succeed in this market, especially if you're between $100,000 to $200,000. Right now, also too at the top range, even $200,000. I used to say, if you got really close to $200,000, then you would be okay. But right now, what we're seeing a lot of is cash buyers coming down from the $300,000, $400,000 range, coming down, downsizing to $200,000. They're paying cash for the house, and in this market, cash is king. Lastly, and I'll say this to go with that, cash is kind of rules right now in this market. Mainly because you don't technically have to deal with like appraisals and things like that, but also too up under that is probably conventional loans. Conventional loans, I think, are what you should be aiming for when getting approved, because there's just not as much stipulations as with the FHA or VA loans. Now, the VA loans, you're going to get great rates, but then also too, this house has to be there can't be many things wrong with this house. And so the VA appraisers, they come out and they also take a look for the VA and FHA appraisers come out and take a look for the lenders. They're the ears and eyes for more like the eyes for the lender. And at that point, if they come out and they see things like peeling paint and things like that, they're going to say, "Hey, this has to be fixed before this house can continue on in the purchase." And if that's the case, a lot of sellers are walking away because they can get a conventional or a cash loan that won't require them to go and do those repairs, right? So I think that it's probably the best practice to try to get a conventional loan. If you get an FHA loan, it's not the end of the world, but I think a conventional loan is probably a little more of a strong offer than the FHA loan. With all that being said, hey, talk with your agent. If you don't have an agent right now, you need somebody to talk about the things that are coming up, some moves that you plan on making. Give me a call, 903-806-6905. You can shoot me a text. Let's schedule a time just to talk strategy, and that's whether you're buying or selling. If you're selling, you want to know how best to take advantage of the opportunity, but not necessarily the market. Give me a call. If you're a buyer, wanting to see how you can succeed in this market, give me a call. Let's make a plan, and let's help you find a house that you're going to love to call home in the middle of this pandemic with lots of opportunities. Hey, I would so much appreciate it if you would leave a comment with a suggestion on topics and things you want to hear. I've got some more interviews to do coming up that are going to be able to help you succeed in this market as a buyer. Then we're going to flip to the seller side, and then we're going to talk about home ownership in the weeks to come. I so much appreciate you taking a listen. I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe. Those three things are super important as I'm trying to grow this platform and also to be able to reach more people to help them succeed in their estates as well. Thank you all so much. If you got any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And if not, I'll see you again next week. Thank you.